All right, there you go.
Hello, Lee County Library PopCon presents Al Bigley, Illustrator. Today we're going to talk about comic book illustrating. Thanks, Karen, for joining
Thank you for having me.
So please tell me about yourself.
Well, I was born in a log cabin. Always wanted to draw since I was 5 or 6, like most kids. And I just kept at it. I was very intrigued by drawing. When I discovered comic books at about age 7, I realized, hey, I like the characters. Characters are great, but somebody draws these. Wouldn't that be great to make your living drawing Spider-Man and Batman? Kept drawing, took whatever art I could in school, elementary, middle, and high school, even though that means someone's having to make, back then, ashtrays, pottery, macrame. I had a sense that all that was going into the same bucket of talent, of artistry. And I just kept at it. When it came time to go to school, I picked an art school in Florida called the Ringling School of Art and Design. Back then it was that or the Rhode Island School of Art and Design. A few others. Joe Hubert, famous comic artist, had a school. I didn't know that was a well-rounded school. I just thought he's teaching people how to do comic book stuff. I knew I needed a well-rounded education. Did 3 years there. Some alumni included Mike Zeck, who worked on Captain America in the 80s, Mark Bagley, Raphael Kayan, who did Firestorm in the 80s. I didn't even know this going down there. After I got out of art school, I started sending my work around to Marvel and DC and kids' books and magazines. A lot of rejection. I still have, 5 inches of rejection letters up in the attic somewhere. A lot of rejection, but if you stick with it, sooner or later you get a job, you get a cover, you get a backup story. My first backup story was in First Comics. Remember the Badger? Like a Wolverine kind of knockoff of First Comics. But you took whatever you could get because you wanted to put on your resume when you were sending stuff to Marvel and DC. I have done some work. Next thing you know, things start snowballing. A few years into that, DC said, hey, we're doing a new Batman show called the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series. And we do a lot of merchandise based on it. We need someone to draw the figures on the action figure cards, t-shirt art, storybooks, book and record sets, book and tape sets, rather. And that turned into a real big thing for me and kind of made my name a bit. And besides that, I was doing stuff for Golden Books, for Archie Comics, for NASCAR. Everything from caricature stuff, like NASCAR, like caricatures of the drivers, for a line of apparel. Because I got that well-rounded education, I could do all these styles of things. But the key was just, I tell this to kids, just practice and then just sticking to it. Don't be afraid of rejection, you can hear that. But if you stick in there, something will happen eventually. And it's been great.
Were you always North Carolina based?
I lived in New Jersey until I was 10 and a half, and my parents moved to Laurinburg, near Rockingham. And I moved out to Charlotte in 87 to take a job as a technical illustrator, but I wanted to get near the comic conventions. Again, this is the internet. And back then you can meet the editor, show me your work, get rejected. But that's what you had to do back then. You had to move to the bigger cities. And I actually learned a lot. Also as a technical artist about tools and equipment and various things in that area.
So, how do you, when you network, do the jobs come to you or do you go to the jobs?
A little bit of both. Again, you send your samples to the companies and say, this is what I do, what I'm looking for, penciler, inker, writer, and it's still the same way. They might have work for you, they might not. They might not think you're ready, or they might. But you just got to get it out there and show them. I would send copies of my work with a letter, a nice business letter. Dear Sir, Madam, if you find my work up to your criteria, please keep me in mind. Most of the time you don't hear from them. Sometimes they will say, you got a little ways to go, which is good to hear because it means they have some faith in you. They see something. But that's really the same thing today. Now with the internet, you can just make a card and send out to kind of browse some pages and go, oh, here's my website, if you're interested. I don't know how many people do that, but it's a good way. Back when I was submitting stuff, it's like, are they going to look at your sample sitting on a pile of other people's samples? You know, that's work. On top of their regular work, of editing comics, or whatever happened. So that really was, the question was, how did I do it?
How do you find that?
Now, how do you find them? Well, back then you just go and you look at the comics or magazines or whatever, even toys, and there'd be some address, some editor would be listed, and you just kind of hit them up at their work.
It's just cold sending.
Yeah.
Do you think that still works today?
I don't know. I don't know. Again, the idea with the postcard being sent with the website, that's still kind of the same thing. Now, too, you can also see them maybe on LinkedIn. You can look them up. Oh, Joe Johnson edits X-Men. Let's go find a link on Facebook and say, hi, by the way, here's my site if you need anybody. So it's a little more direct and a little more personal than just some guy you've never met and who knows where sending you samples on your pile that's ever growing, probably doesn't have anything of merit in it, but he's got to look at it. So now sometimes once you get established, people will come to you. There is such a thing as getting stereotyped where I would approach, say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, let's say I want to do some paintings like Norman Rockwell for Time Magazine, and you send them some samples. Oh, if you ever need a drawing of Batman, will come to you, and you're trying to go, no, I've done that, but I can do all these other things. Batman's just sitting there to show you I've worked with DC, and Golden Books, and Kenner Toys to kind of impress you. Mm-hmm. So that does occur, which you think wouldn't happen, but I guess a lot of these busy editors need to go, oh, well, we need something that looks like Rockwell or this guy. And this person comes in looking kind of like he has a comic strip style like Charles Schultz, we're good with that person. But both are possible now, and it's more direct with the internet through LinkedIn and Facebook. You know, here's my site, here's everything right here. Oh, can you show us anything you've done that's painted? Instead of, oh, here's, I can just get off my site, there's 5 things. Here you go.
You've written a book on drawing comics. How did you find the publisher and how did that come about?
Well, I started teaching in Charlotte in '99 in activity centers and schools. And a lot of it was the basics of art, which also applied to comic art, you know, perspective, shading, composition, foreshortening, all these things that we all learned in art class. I just came in with the comic art side of it. About after maybe 6 or 7 years of that, I knew a fellow that moved to Charlotte, and he had written some books for this publisher, and a big publisher. And I said, do you think they'd like a book just about really what I've been teaching, how to do these things? He said, hit them up. And they took it and ran with it, and they said, let's call it How to Draw Comic Special Effects. So it wasn't just the basics, but here's how you get some global effects, here's how you can direct the eye, create if somebody's falling, give them a long vertical panel, or they're flying up, you know, all these things. Somebody throws a page, let's get out a horizontal panel. And it's done pretty well. What's funny about that is they had very generous deadlines. So I think they gave me the yes in October and said, can you have this done by March? I'm like, yeah, it's not type it. And then by March of the next year after.
Oh,
so like over a year. I'm like, oh, I knew that. I just, but we're used to like, we need it Thursday.
right.
And what's bad about a deadline like that is you got the artwork done, you got it laid out, and you're looking at, I don't like that hand. I'm going to redraw that hand because you got the time to sit and rework it, which can be a bad thing. So just get it to them, be done. But I couldn't believe that the year and a half deadline on that thing. And yes, it is like 70 pages. It's just maybe a single illustration per page, not like comics where you got 5, 6, or 7. And you got to have it done, 2 or 3 of those pages a day. Depends on what that is.
So you said that you did some work for Golden Books and McDonald's. Those are really far apart. How did you get those two?
Well, with Golden Books, DC came to me with, they had 2 Batman storybooks that Golden Books wanted done. This is about the time between Batman and Batman Returns, Bat Fever, Batman. And they just came to me because Golden Books said, you got the paint, we got the writers, the artists, the colors. So it was kind of subcontracted to me. later I would do stuff for, because I was the main Power Rangers artist when that happened, I do some old books of art for the puzzle books that featured the Power Rangers. McDonald's came to DC, they wanted Happy Meal boxes based on the Batman animated series. And I think McDonald's or somebody at DC would do really rough sketches because he had puzzles and they had to be composed a certain way. So my job was to take it, make it look dramatic, make it on model, make it look like the characters are supposed to look, and like that. And that was fun. They used it on our prototype of what I did on the commercial, which was kind of cool. Seeing kids playing with the boxes, driving the toys, doing all that. One great thing from doing that was the DC Special Projects Department. And people working there were Bob Stewart, who goes back to the 60s, the days of the 60s comics fandom, when they made mimeograph magazines. That's how they stayed in touch with fans back then. But also Joe Orlando, who is known for the early days of Mad Magazine, did some work for Marvel, some of the early issues of Daredevil, was just kind of a well-known artist in the industry. So he was like my art director. And on some of those books, he put a piece of tracing paper down over my work. And, well, just, fix up the anatomy here, make it look so easy. You don't like being corrected, but you look at it going, this is genius, why? And then you see, you're like, why isn't he drawing? Well, he's this good. But that's how that happened. Just once you have the one client, they had clients that they got to work with, and they tap you for these things. And how that would work would they just come to you and go, we've got the Happy Meal boxes, got this big, these are the dimensions, we need just to pencil it, someone else will ink it and color it. It pays this much, it's due on this date, can you say yes to those things? And you can always say no, or I just can't do it by that date, or I don't agree on the amount of money. So they just click your hands like that. I did so much work for the DC Special Projects books, most of it on Batman animated stuff, that there was one time we were leaving for a beach trip, and they had some kind of Batman toothbrush thing. They needed to draw, and I had to say, I can't do it. We gotta get going to the beach. I also did a lot of work on that stuff. Mike DiCarlo, a famous inker, did a lot of that work. And a few of the things were done by Carmine Infantino, who was Batman's main artist in the 60s when they went to the new look Batman. They gave him the yellow moon around the bat, and they revised his book. And that got the interest. A year in, TV producers made the Batman TV show. Carmine Infantino's doing this stuff. And he's long since deceased. It was a big film on many of those fronts to do all that stuff.
So you started as a traditional illustrator. How has the digital age affected you?
Well, two things. Most people, when you say that, digital arts, computers, they think everyone went to that. Like, they just know Pixar. They just know that kind of thing. A lot of people use it completely, from sketching to finished product, finished paintings. Some people, like me, I color in it, I scan in a drawing. Other times I've gotten into starting an image, and building up like a painting, printing that out, and finishing it with acrylics and inks and traditional materials. It's just another tool, all of it, for an artist. You don't have to use it, you don't have to get into it, there's so much now. But here's the big revolution with computers and everything. You heard me talk about sending stuff through the mail and all this. Computers came along, and not only can you instantly approach editors and art directors for work and see them, communicate with them, you can send work directly. I've done some work. I did a great magnetic toy board toy. I don't know how else to describe it. About 10 years ago for international playthings. Joe traditionally scanned it, colored it, sent it attached to an email, and they just printed it from that, as long as it was high enough resolution. And that's the big deal. When I was getting into all this, there was still that fear, if you want a career, you got to move to New York or Chicago. But suddenly, this new thing called FedEx appeared. You could live anywhere. And boy, when I was really doing this stuff in the 90s, I knew every FedEx box, when they picked up. That was at 5, that was at 6. If I got a crushing deadline, I go to that one. And now you've got it where you don't need any of that. I can't imagine why they need the original art. And art can get lost, can get damaged.
Yes.
And now you just send it high res. and that's the real revolution, communication and the sending of all this stuff. And I imagine if you talk to people who use it, same thing, in so many areas of art, writing, I've got writing for the same thing, you send it in. Now here's the downside. When I was doing it traditionally, and doing, say, an image of the Batman characters for the Kenner toy cards, I dealt with two people, one editor at DC, one person at Kenner. And if they had a problem, they just say, hey, you know, we're putting in extra type, can you move Harley Quinn's hand over? Now, because you're sending it in, attached to an email, everybody can CC it. They can send it to everyone. So you might get, hey, you know, Bill in the county doesn't like green, but you make that blue.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And you want to go, why is Bill in the county looking like this? What is he doing? But you got to play less. And it can be frustrating. I've heard stories of a friend drawing a Spider-Man kid's book that was supposed to be out for Christmas. The character J. Jonah Jameson was in it on a few pages. And they went back and forth, arguing, should the sleeves be rolled up or down? And it missed its deadline. And it's like, who's deciding that? And if you're an artist, just let the artist decide this. And unless he made a mistake. Oh, that's supposed to be, you know, the Green Goblin you put in Dr. Octopus. So that is something to be considered and has kind of changed the tenor of this kind of work, you know, for good or bad.
Because you're paid by the piece, not by your time.
Right. Now, some artists put in clauses like you get one change or two changes. I don't care if this is the deadline. That's what you get for the money you're paying. And I guess that's part of what we have to look at now with stuff being CC to, you know, Jim and accounting down the hallway.
So you're also a fan and you cosplay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I got into cosplay. Not even sure how I did it. I've always taken models and action figures and customized them. We don't have an action figure of Bucky Barnes from Captain America or the Vision. So you take the Silver Surfer and it's a challenge because it's artistic. Okay, I'm not just going to paint them differently. How do I make that accessory? How do I make that cape? Like that? And this is just an extension of that same thing on a bigger level. Plus, you got to move it. Hopefully, sit in it. Hopefully, be comfortable. And always with cosplayers, I'd be at my table, cosplayers would come up, you know. And I just got into it and thought, wait, this is wonderfully creative too. Because you're making a big figure or a big model kit that just happens to be a person moving around. How do I make that happen? And most of even when I'm doing characters where a set of tights, those are designed by me in Photoshop. I send them to an overseas printer. This is a challenge. You know, can I buy this? Yes. I can make this. How do I make it? What's not going to fall apart like a utility belt? I sit down, is that going to, a Batman fly? Oh, it's going to break off. You got to think about this. It's going to look good. So it's just a lot of fun. Plus, you get to make kids especially happy. You get to meet adult things. I know what you're doing. I know. I mean, who else does a 1979 TV movie Captain America? With the clear shirt. Oh, I love that. I know what that is. Plus, kids get to enjoy it. And I'm in a group that does hospital visits, and we do charity events, and we're free. And we're like, we got the costumes.
What's the name of it?
It's called Carolina Action Figures. It's near us in Charlotte. There's a great group in Raleigh called, something cosplay. I'm blanking out. Not cosplay, but like calls, C-A-U-S-E, play. Carolina cosplay. But any area you're in, if you look, I think you'll find charity cosplayers do that kind of thing.
There's the 501st in the room.
Yes, 501st. Yes, there's Ghostbusters as well.
That's represented as well today.
That's a lot of fun. Of course, now when you get around the older kids, I had the Batman appearance at the open house every night. Kindergarten through 12-year-olds. The young kids come up and hug you and everything, but the older kids are too cool. You're not real. I feel real. Batman's just a guy in a costume. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I got it.
It's the best thing in the world. Have the young kids come up to you and just love it.
Right.
Do you have any advice for budding illustrators?
Just practice. If there's one thing I could go back and do more of, it's practice. Encourage people to draw, encourage it all the time, just like basketball, just like music. You will get better. You might not see it right away, It might be a year, 2 or 5, where all of a sudden, oh, it's easier now. You know, I've got the facility to get this happening. Don't be afraid to experiment with things you're not comfortable with. Like, I wish I had delved into paints more. As a kid, I knew the comic artists would draw with pencil and paints, black and white drawings. Use the computer if it intimidates you. If all you do is computer, go and pick up a pencil or a crayon, just for the challenge. Take whatever art you can get, even if it means making macrame, pottery, and just be open to these things. Just, don't be afraid of rejection. There's not any rejection, but show your work, because some of that rejection is stuff you need to hear. Yeah, because you always get outside eyes saying, you know what, your figures are a little stiff, or perspective's a little off. Okay, I'll work on that, and we'll be even this much better. Just practice. You tell that to anybody that, in any level of the arts industry, dancers, singers, writers, people in sports, anything, just practice. Music.
Yeah. So anything you're working on now you want to tell us about?
Oh gosh, right now I'm just kind of doing private commissions, doing stuff I feel like, and trying to work with different mediums, and then I'll put it on eBay and see what happens. I'll bring it to conventions and sell it. Of course, after I'm done with this, I'll think of 3 different things. That's really a lot of commissions. Every now and again, I'll look for work, and something will be cool where, oh, I want to draw that book, or I want to be part of that. I'll send out samples. Try to get their attention. I don't want to do that a lot. But little things fall your way, like my local library does shows like this. A few years ago, they came to me and said, we want to do new library cards that were listed for your review. And so that went through several versions and iterations where that's cool. I did a library card.
That's great.
Toys and
I get ideas.
And what they did more recently, I think I had 2 or 3 years of that. They threw the floor open to young people to draw their own. I think they had a contest. It also got people into the library, aware of what the library does. But just a lot of fun. When I do teach, I also tell kids, I'll show them the sample of my work, a little more than what I've got out there. And they see the shirts and the toys and the comic books and posters and this and that, and storyboards. I'm like, all of this is cartooning. All of this is art. There's no reason to think of, here's comics, and here's, a magazine comic, or here's something for kids. It's all the same thing. It's all, we don't need to categorize it. Because I see a lot of people, especially, all I do is draw animals. I draw anime. And it's like, well, that's good too. It's all art. And I also tell them, even if you never make money with this and you enjoy it, then draw. You don't have to make money with it. Some people noodle around on a guitar for a few hours every Sunday and it brings them pleasure. They don't want to be here clapping, but it brings them pleasure. So do it. Do it if it brings you pleasure.
Is it possible to make a living at it, to earn enough money to make a living at it?
Yeah, it's hard to say that in a general blanket statement. There are still positions where you can go and sit at the desk job. I saw a fellow earlier that does nothing but, he's an IT programmer. And they do use an artist to storyboard some things. I guess they're creating environments. And I don't know if it's gaming or it's professional stuff for work environments. But something I learned a long time ago, people need to visualize things before they spend money on every company. And everything that's man-made around us has to start with drawing. Right. It has to be designed first. So there'll always be real-time positions and freelance positions like I've done. And I guess it's up to you to try and get enough work. But it depends on the area too. There might not be enough in the world of designing characters for video games or designing. Some people sculpt the action figures you see in Toy Stores. They have to be sculpted from clay first, and there's some people that do that. So there's so many areas to apply that. But if you now want to know if you want to do this freelance and work out of your house with the communications we have now, it's more viable and possible than ever. So I encourage it. Yeah.
One of my friends is making a living building 3D models.
Yeah.
Like pieces for 3D models to build.
You mentioned cosplay earlier. There are people that make, now with 3D printers, accessories and belts. I just got a 1939 Batman cowl.
Uh-huh.
It's uncomfortable because it's rigid.
Yeah.
but they're able to do that. Swords, you name it, accessories. The whole cosplay industry is a whole artistic area unto itself. Whether we're talking about superheroes or anime or historical or, Renaissance related stuff. So there's so many areas now to explore. And all needs art and drawings and concepts and designs.
Does anybody have any questions for our guest? You ready?
Probably glad too long.
No.
I covered everything.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
Goodbye from Lee County Podcast.